You hear broken ankle, and your mind goes straight to worst case surgery, months of rehab, and a season that quietly ends the day the doctor says, IR. That is where this story lived for San Francisco in mid October. Fred Warner sustained a dislocated fractured right ankle and had surgery, and the team placed him on injured reserve. That timeline made the straightforward assumption simple. He's out for the year. CBS Sports. And yet, reality in sports medicine is rarely binary. Matt Barrows, the 49ers beat reporter who runs a regular mailbag, talked to orthopedic surgeons and came back with a more textured read. The typical recovery for that kind of injury is about 16 weeks, but there are meaningful variables that can speed things up or set the clock back. Barrows pointed out that Warner's injury happened on October 12th, which would make the wild card window roughly 13 weeks after the break, short of the typical recovery mark, but not impossible if everything goes perfectly. Then he did something journalists rarely do. He put percentages on it. Wild card, 16%. Divisional, 44%. NFC Championship, 78%. Super Bowl, just try and stop him. Whether you love that optimism or roll your eyes at the bravado, the numbers frame the contingency. Warner's return is not a binary no. It's a sliding scale that depends on healing, rehab progress, and how far the 49ers go. 49ers Web Zone. Here's the medical truth you won't see in highlight reels. Bones heal on a schedule. Soft tissues and mobility don't always. A clean fracture fixed with solid surgery and no complications is the best case. Add swelling, ligament damage, or the need for follow-up procedures, and the timeline stretches. NFL clubs have gotten creative with late-season returns in the past. Think of players cleared to go for conference games and even Super Bowls when the team's path aligned. But those are exceptions, not rules. What makes Warner's situation slightly different is twofold: his work ethic and his role. He's the 49ers' emotional and schematic leader, which makes the team want him back if there's any chance. And his rehab team has high incentives to push timelines when the playoffs loom. That combination is why Barrows' percentages feel plausible, even if they should be taken with cautious optimism. 49ers Web Zone. Let's be clear about what Warner brings to San Francisco. He's the glue of the defense. Since entering the league in 2018, Warner has become a perennial All-Pro and Pro Bowler, the kind of middle linebacker who changes how offenses structure game plans. He diagnoses run fits, covers slot receivers, orchestrates pre-snap checks, and makes plays happen sideline to sideline. Put another way, missing Warner isn't just a statistical downgrade, it's losing the unit's brain and temperament. Even in his absence, the 49ers have schemed and adjusted, but you can see the difference when the radar screen eyes of a true field general are gone. CBS Sports Now, the chessboard moment. The 49ers have 4 games left before the playoffs, after their bye. That's enough time to climb seeding lines, but not enough time to safely count on miracle recoveries. If San Francisco cruises deep into January, the math shifts. A divisional appearance makes the odds feel reasonable. An NFC championship? Suddenly, Warner becomes a realistic game-time decision. That's not because doctors get more optimistic. It's because the team's calendar changes. More games, more rest, and the team's willingness to clear a player for a single high-stake contest can create paths that look improbable in October and plausible in late January. That's the practical reality behind Barrows' ladder of percentages. 49ers Web Zone. But don't mistake hope for strategy. Kyle Shanahan and the franchise have to plan as if Warner is unavailable until proven otherwise. The roster has to hold together, replacements must be trusted, and the defensive game plan can't be a fantasy about a returning star. That conservative posture protects the team from catastrophic planning mistakes. You don't build a playoff identity on a player who hasn't earned a clearance yet. Shanahan himself sounded practical about the situation when asked. He wouldn't count on Warner for the postseason unless the recovery truly warranted it. The coaching staff's job is to maximize the team's win probability with the assets currently available, not to hope an ankle heals on schedule because narrative demands it. CBS Sports. So what does a realistic fan watch for between now and January? First, the 49ers' health and depth on defense. How do the young linebackers and vets handle opponent run concepts? Second, Warner's rehab checkpoints, range of motion, ability to cut, and crucially, his absence of pain in contact drills. Third, the team's seeding path. A higher seed compresses risk, home games, fewer rounds, while a wild card route lengthens it, ironically making a late return less likely because you'd need him earlier. Finally, look for the subtext in reporting. Non-medical optimism, source, team personnel matters less than surgeon-led updates and in-practice tolerance of load. Those are the micro signs that tell you whether Barrows' list optimistic percentages are moving up or down. 49ers Web Zone. Let's finish with the human frame. The 49ers lost an elite leader, but elite teams adapt. If Warner returns in January, it will be a narrative fit for cinematic timing. The leader back when the stakes are highest. If he doesn't, the 49ers' path is still straightforward. Rely on schematic depth, rotate players in to mask the gap, and keep the ship steady. Either outcome says something about organizational depth and medical discipline. In the best, most thrilling version of the story, Warner's name pops up on the active list in late January. The Levi's faithful roar, and the unit regains a spark. In the sober, sensible version, San Francisco reaches for the championship without him and proves the roster was constructed to survive the loss of its heart. Both outcomes would tell you a lot about this team and about how you separate hope from plan in the postseason. 49ers Web Zone. Whatever the odds, this remains the kind of playoff subplot fans eat up. A Warrior sidelined in October, a team fighting through the long winter, and the tiny math of recovery that can flip an entire postseason's narrative. Keep an eye on the practice reports, medical check-ins, and the 49ers march through their remaining schedule. That's where the percentages will become a yes or a no. And if you're betting with your heart, remember, the NFL's favorite miracles always require two things: a little luck and a ton of work. Insider estimates if San Francisco 49ers star Fred Warner can return for the playoffs half. At 9-4, the San Francisco 49ers are right in the middle of the NFC playoff push. Injuries have hammered this roster all season, but even with key players sidelined, the 49ers keep stacking wins and head into their Week 14 bye with everything still in front of them. Sitting at the number 7 seed, winning out would not only secure a playoff return after missing last season, it could also position San Francisco to host a playoff game. This team is hungry, motivated, and determined to prove it can still make a run at the Super Bowl. But the absence of their stars is catching up. Chief among them is All-Pro linebacker Fred Warner, who hasn't played since Week 6 due to a broken ankle. Before the injury, Warner was once again playing like the best linebacker in football, leading the defense and powering the 49ers through big early season wins. Now, with him out, San Francisco must navigate the final stretch and potentially the postseason without their defensive heartbeat. Or maybe not. Could Fred Warner return for the playoffs? Despite Kyle Shanahan calling a Warner return far-fetched, longtime 49ers insider Matt Barrows says it may not be as impossible as it sounds. The typical timeline for Warner's injury is about 16 weeks, but Barrows notes there are multiple variables that could accelerate the recovery, especially for a player as tough, durable, and notoriously competitive as Warner. Orthopedic surgeons said 16 weeks is normal for an athlete with Warner's injury, but there were all sorts of variables, good and bad, Barrows explained. Warner broke his ankle on October 12th, so the wildcard round, January 10 to 12, would be 13 weeks since the injury. Barrows then gave his estimated odds of Warner returning for each round. Wildcard round, 16%. Divisional round, 44%. Championship round, 78%. Super Bowl, just to try and stop him percent. In other words, the deeper the 49ers go, the more realistic a Warner return becomes. And if they reach the Super Bowl, good luck keeping him off the field. Warner's impact on the 49ers. Since being drafted in the 3rd round in 2018, Fred Warner has grown into arguably the best linebacker in the NFL. With 4 Pro Bowl selections and 4 first-team All-Pro honors, he's been the engine of San Francisco's defense for years. He's posted 100-plus tackles every season of his career, and aside from one missed game in 2021, this is the first season he's missed multiple games. Simply put, when Warner is healthy, the 49ers are a different team. Faster, smarter, more disciplined, and much harder to score on. After the Week 14 bye, San Francisco has 4 more regular season games to boost their playoff position. If they win out, They could climb the NFC standings and potentially host a postseason game. And if their postseason run lasts long enough, they just might get 54 back at the perfect time.